Pacers win for real. The losing streak is over. They beat the Hornets in a dramatic game. The veterans were awesome down the stretch. Rick Carlisle officially has 1,000 wins. So much to break down on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Congrats, you through the weekend. Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and City Spin. And today, it's over. The Pacers are no longer month-long 13 straight losers. They have beaten the Charlotte Hornets. They are in the win column for the 7th time this year. And Rick Carlisle officially is the 11th coach in NBA history with four-digit 1,000 wins, an unfathomably huge number of games that he has won, not coached, won. Well-deserved. We'll spend the whole second segment talking about him. We'll spend the third segment talking about all the little notes and key things that got the Pacers this win. But what a dramatic game for the Pacers to get over the line. I honestly thought, I will admit, that I thought this was about to be a game where I talked about the Pacers for the fourth time in 5 games blowing a fourth quarter lead. They were winning in the fourth quarter multiple times in this game, and there was a big turning point with about 2 minutes to go where the shot clock's at 0.3 and Aaron Nesmith uncorks a 3, but they didn't have time for that. It was off an inbounds, and they counted it at first, but it didn't count as they figured out on review. And on the other end, right after they were reviewing to take it away, Nesmith fouls Knippel on a corner 3, and Knippel makes all 3 free throws. To be clear, it was all officiated correctly, but it was a 6-point momentum swing or a 6-point emotional swing with like 2 minutes, to go in the game. That put the Pacers down 2, and TJ McConnell missed on the next possession. I thought, oh boy, this might be over. They might have lost another lead. It might be over. But in this game, the Pacers veterans were very composed in a way that was extra noteworthy. I even had it in the third quarter. This was a wildly fast game with a little bit of chippiness, like Miles Bridges and Pascal Siakam here and there, and Quentin Jackson with both LaMelo Ball and Colin Sexton. Nothing that escalated into an altercation, but just you could tell what was going on. And there was little stuff going on, but they're focused right through it. Get to the next play. And the only bad thing happening from a focus perspective was turnovers, but they didn't really have any stupid plays besides one that we'll get to later. And they always responded out of their choppiest moments, a big Quentin Jackson block on LaMelo Ball, Johnny Furphy double offensive rebound, 50-50 balls. They were getting all of them. Their rebounding was great. I just felt like the Pacers were composed a lot in this game. And so even down 2 with a minute and a half to go, and then down 3 because Moussa Diabate, as he did for much of the game, got an offensive rebound and hit a free throw, you still felt like they had a chance. And Jay Huff won a big jump ball. The Pacers got a big stop as LaMelo went for an insanely timed play to go for a lob with about a minute to go, and the Pacers get a stop, and TJ McConnell, awesome all night, was definitely running out of gas late. They needed him a ton without injured Nembhard in this game. Got to a spot, and after missing a few in a row, flipped in his classic in the lane 10-footer. That's what TJ McConnell can do. Good defense from the Pacers on the next trip, a full 24 seconds of defense, forcing a tough miss from Knippel. Credit to Ben Shepherd for getting the board. Pacers get out and move. Miles Bridges tumbles right before trying to avoid a screen, and Siakam gets to the cup for a layup. 2, really 3 if you count the defense. Great execution plays in a row. And then the Hornets, young team, not composed. Pacers, veteran team, composed. The Hornets are down 1. There is 11 seconds, 12 seconds left in the game. They need to run a play. The young players want to get it in and go. Charles Lee wants to call timeout. So Charles Lee is yelling timeout, timeout. The young players inbound the ball immediately. TJ McConnell was laser focused and stole the inbounds pass. And that basically put the game away. Not really. But it got a free throw for Ben Shepherd. And then the Pacers do a great job cutting off all LaMelo Ball angles after he hit 2 other buzzer beaters in other quarters of this game. Colin Sexton misses a 2 that would have only tied it with a second to go. Johnny Furphy rebound. After several games of poor fourth quarter execution and not making some of the shots that they can make late in games, they did an awesome job, led by the veterans, in the last 2 minutes of this game. And that doesn't even account for some other big plays. The big rebound they got, for example, before Pascal Siakam put the game away with 23 seconds to go. This did not go their way much of the game at all, but Jay Huff finally cleared out Moussa Diabate for a big rebound that Ben Shepherd ultimately got. Ben Shepherd, by the way, himself, a double offensive rebound during the fourth quarter that got a bucket for Siakam. That was a huge play. Ben Shepherd was just everywhere, I thought, in this fourth quarter, making big plays that helped the Pacers get a win. He was guarding LaMelo Ball better than anybody had in this game. He deserves a ton of credit for that. That happened pretty late in the game as well. And so all these guys with experience, right? Of course, the veterans, the 30-plus guys in McConnell and Siakam, but also the guys who have done it down the stretch of playoff games before. Ben Shepherd making big plays late in the game. Aaron Nesmith making big plays late in the game. And they got it done. They got it done in a way that they hadn't in a while. And those veterans were, of course, key late. And that was a theme of the entire game for the Pacers. For example, just the stat sheet says Pascal Siakam was terrific, but he did a lot of stuff in this game that was just fun, Siakam classic. This team cannot guard me stuff. The second the Hornets would say, yeah, we'll switch Knipple onto Pascal Siakam, it's like something like shifts in his eyes, and he's like, oh, cool, a rookie's guarding me, and he just goes and scores or goes and takes a shot he's totally comfortable with. 30 points, obviously splendid, the 30th point being the shot that put the Pacers ahead for the final time of the game for Siakam, 3 assists, and critically, in a game where they just got out-rebounded 30-9, and Rick Carlisle post-game after Pacers-Cavs, 30-9 in the second half, against the Cavs, you knew rebounding would be a focus for this team. They were all over the glass tonight, and Siakam was by far the leader of it. 14 rebounds. He had 10 defensive rebounds in this game. The final count in the rebounds, 41 for the Pacers, 35 for the Hornets. And in a game where the Pacers were turning it over way too much, way out of their usual comfort zone level, whatever you want to say, with turnovers, you got to make up those possessions somehow. The rebounding battle was the way to do it. Siakam was just like, I mean, he always is in I'm not going to lose this game mode, but he had like an extra level. I felt like he was aggressive in the last game, but he was feasting early, right? He had 6 of the Pacers' first 11 points. Like it just felt like the Hornets were willing to give up mid-range shots, which, and some teams are fine with that. That's fine if you want to let a guy shoot them, but maybe don't let Pascal Siakam shoot them. And maybe really don't let TJ McConnell shoot him when he's just rolling like he was tonight. TJ McConnell had to play a lot. Andrew Nembhard was hurt and did not play. Quentin Jackson started and was fine. We'll talk about him later. I actually thought he did. The stat line is not glorious, but he played fine. They need TJ McConnell to play a lot, right? Those two basically played every minute at point guard. Cam Jones played 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And McConnell, especially in the third quarter when he had 11 points in just that quarter, was just terrific. 17 shot attempts is the sign of what McConnell was looking for in this game, and he still had 8 assists. But he was trying to get to his spots for baskets in this game. And LaMelo Ball, for all the butt kicking he did, that really kept the Pacers back for a lot of this game. If they could have slowed down LaMelo, they would have won by a billion. LaMelo could not guard TJ McConnell and provided very little resistance, and nobody could keep TJ McConnell out of the paint. If you take away his 1 for 3 from deep, he was 9 for 14 on twos, 4 rebounds from him, 4 steals, including the big one, 23-8 with 4 steals and 4 boards, plus 10 in a 2-point win. TJ McConnell and Siakam, the classic duo for this Pacers team, were just awesome. But the other vets, of course, were wily and excellent as well. Ben Shepherd's not a vet. He's a young player, but he's pretty experienced for a young player. He had 7 points, crucial rebounds, 2 assists. He was quite good in this game. Aaron Nesmith, of course, 3 made threes, 5 boards, 2 assists. He had 16 points in this game. When the Pacers needed to win, they could not. I mean, like, the vibes are already what they are. I actually think they're handling what this has been better than you'd expect, but not, it's tough. You lose 13 in a row. It's tough on anybody. You need a win at some point. You cannot let it be 4 out of 5. You have a fourth quarter lead and you give it away. And when it mattered, and for a lot of the game, those who have been there, done that, said, we are not losing this game. And they found ways here and there to get it done with just enough plays. If you want to call Jay Huff a vet, he got his butt kicked on the glass. He made every shot he took in this game. He had 3 blocks. He protected the rim pretty well. A lot of other guys you could call vets. Tony Bradley we'll get to later. He was awesome. Maybe Tony Bradley's top 2-3 game of the season on his birthday nonetheless, right? Awesome game from the vets. Awesome win for the Pacers, who get their 7th of the season, ending the losing streak, making that no longer a topic for now. And now we shift to the thing that was a topic last month and then went away because they lost 13 games in a row. Rick Carlisle, 1 1,000 wins. Unfathomably huge number. 11th coach to do it. How did he do it? How did Rick Carlisle do this? I just wrote a story on it that I would advise you to read. But I'd like to talk about what makes Rick Carlisle such a great coach, how this is possible, why this milestone is so impressive, and more coming up here on Locked On Pacers. Before we do any of that, though, we need to quickly talk about FanDuel. Fridays always feel different during basketball season. That's today. FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night before the game tips off. FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern and become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, and surprises. You can check the weekly special before tip-off. Make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So, before tip-off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, Locked On Hornets. Hear about their side of two back-to-backs at home for the Hornets. They lose on an Emmanuel Quickley buzzer beater Wednesday night and then lose to the Pacers in heartbreaker Thursday night. That will be a big topic. LaMelo Ball coming off the bench, which is a health thing, it sounds like. Also will be a topic. LaMelo Ball's decision-making in the final 90 seconds will certainly be a topic for the Hornets. That team's going somewhere, but they're just a touch too young and unserious. They're really interesting, though. If Brandon Miller does not get ejected, for example, and by ejected, I mean he got 2 techs, this game goes differently, right? That team's good. They're talented. But the Pacers won. They earned it. Locked On Hornets will have the loser's perspective on this game. Okay, Rick Carlisle. 1,000 wins. I have a million ways that I could put this in perspective. I'm sure you can think about it. I mean, I've said this before. If you play 20 seasons of 500 basketball, you are not even close. You have 820 wins. You are not even 90% of the way there. 4 more seasons of 500 basketball after that, you still aren't there. 25 seasons of winning half your games is required to win 1,000 games. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Rick Carlisle got his first head coaching job when I was 6, right? The longevity is always such a huge part of these massive number milestones. And some people like to diminish longevity. Well, of course he has 1,000 wins. He's been coaching for 25 years. You can't coach for 25 years in the NBA without being one of the best to ever do it. And you see that with a previous Pacers coach. The game evolves, and sometimes coaches can't or don't. Nate McMillan could really coach. The game passed him by. It just did. The Hawks found out. The Pacers found out. It just did, right? I thought Nate McMillan was a better coach than fans did, but I totally get it. What happened, right? It didn't ever work in the playoffs. They had one good series under him. But it never has passed Rick Carlisle by. That's not to say he's always been directly right on top of the pulse, but he certainly has with the Pacers during this current stint. And you see that by the fact that he has had teams guided by Reggie and J.O. or Chauncey for a second, or Dirk Nowitzki or Luka Doncic or Tyrese Haliburton, or even for a spit, Domantas Sabonis. And all of those teams play a different way. And all those teams play in a different era of the NBA. And to win at those times, you have to do different things. And every time, Rick figured it out. The Pistons were good. The Pacers were good. The Mavs were almost always great. And then the year they were bad, they get Luka, and then great, they're great again. And the Pacers, outside of that first year, were always ascending. That first year was a mess. And that is what it takes. And you don't get to have longevity unless you can do that. So saying anything shy of how impressive it is that he's been able to coach enough to get to 1,000 wins is wrong. That is already a feat in and of itself. And then you become one of the 11 to win 1,000 games is the next just wow level of accomplishment. He's 42, 43 wins now from the top 10 all time, which he will certainly reach at some point. And to me, the things that have gotten him to this point beyond the longevity part that I just talked about are 2 things. This is what I put in my headline of my story: adaption and connection. He has always been willing to, and this was described as his strengths when the Pacers hired him with the Turbonis front court and Brogdon and LeVert, et cetera, was he is very good at, here's your team, build a basketball system to maximize those players. And yeah, that team kind of imploded, the first one he had. But they were 14 and 18 at one point before they fell apart in January and then traded everybody away. And they were never going to go anywhere. But still, that he got as much out of them as the two previous coaches did. And then Haliburton comes in, immediately they're playing a different way, like instantly. And I just went through this with other teams, but that's what he has been a master at. And even Pascal Siakam, like in my story, I talked about some of the quotes, but like Tyrese Haliburton did the joke last year. I think it was during the playoffs. He said that they have a joke that Rick adds a play every day. I don't know if he actually adds a play every day, but that's the kind of stuff it takes to do this. Pascal Siakam said of getting to 1,000 wins, it takes skill and it takes a coach being willing to help players change and be humble enough to learn and adapt and get better. There it is. The adaptation and the constantly willing to assess what's going on and make changes if necessary, as seeing what is required in a certain series and a certain matchup. I mean, this year, even he's changed matchups all the time. And I should add in now, it's very funny that this happens this year because they're playing bad, right? An all-time great coach who just had an all-time great season has to get his 1,000th win when his team is 7-31. I mean, that's very ironic and kind of crappy timing. People keep asking me this season, like, should the coach be on the hot seat? No, obviously they just extended him. They love Rick. They think Rick is awesome for a lot of reasons I'm currently talking about. It's just ironic. But his adaptation and feel for what's going on in the NBA and the next steps and how that all fits into what his team needs is a big part of this. The second thing that's a big part of this, it's in my headline and in my story, is relationships. And connection is the exact word I use. And I've heard that a lot from players, that Rick is very good about chatting with them, or, it's private conversations that no one wants to get into the specifics of, which is totally in their right to do so, but were important to them in some way. And I am very appreciative of TJ McConnell for actually sharing one that during the 2024 playoffs, that first series against the Bucks, he was having a rough series. 5 games in, they're up 3-2, they're coming back to Indy, and he knew he was playing bad, and he thought he might get benched. And I will say this, like I said, he should get benched on this podcast. And Rick went to his house in Indy, and they talked to him about basketball, obviously, but he said they talked about life. And that gave him a huge boost. And that Rick knew he needed a moment with his coach or needed to pick me up was very telling. And TJ, if you guys will recall, game 6 of that Bucks series was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. 20 points, 9 assists, 4 steals. They blow out the Bucks in their first of many series wins under Rick Carlisle. That's the kind of stuff that really matters. And he's very good at that. You have to be upfront with adults. You have to be, and he's good at that. Some coaches are not, he is. Connection and adaptation, I think, are his best traits that got him to 1,000 wins. Now, the thing that I've seen with the Pacers that I didn't know about, or that I think are a misconception with him, is the way he develops. And he talked about that when they re-signed Jalen Smith. I'll never forget. We're off to the side talking to him after the presser, and he talked about how he's falling in love, or not even, that's not even the right phrasing, like rekindling his love for one-on-one time with players and player development and things of that nature. And he loved working with sticks. And I see that all the time now, whether he's helping Isaiah Jackson work on his shot form or talking to some other young player about driving angles or whatever. And like, we can't hear the conversation, but you can see him pointing them through it and seeing them take his instruction and things like that. And of course, again, people will say, well, Jarris and Ben haven't gotten that much better this year. But like, how many players, either that the Pacers have drafted in the case of Ben Shepherd or Andrew Nembhard or Isaiah Jackson or whatever, have gotten better here, or teams that they took from other places have vastly improved, such as Sticks or Obi Toppin or Aaron Smith, or you could get Tyrese Haliburton, you could go on and on. You see that part of this. And that all, of course, is disseminated to his staff to do as well. And he is very trusting of assistants. And I think that's a strength of his as well. And you have to be good at a lot of things to be able to coach for this long. And he is very good at a lot of things. And specifically for the team the Pacers have right now, Rick Carlisle is very good at the things needed for them to win games, which is, again, I understand, super ironic to say when they're 7-31. I think you all understand the circumstances that have led them to 7-31. Has he been a perfect coach this year or his whole career? No. Is he an absolutely top tier coach in the NBA and maybe the perfect coach for the current Indiana Pacers? Yes. And is he one of the best coaches of all time? Yes. 4-digit wins. Insane. I loved Chris Denari's stat on the broadcast that he's one of now 3 coaches with 1,000 wins and a title as both a player and a coach. That's awesome. What a basketball career he's had. Congrats to Rick. Well-deserved. The players dump water on him in the locker room post-game. Lloyd Pierce doing the post-game speech so they can celebrate Rick, because he will never, ever celebrate himself. He's all about the other people in his life. And that's also very telling about who he is and what he's all about. And he led the Pacers to this win with his own decisions, like when to put in TJ McConnell and to close the game with Ben Shepherd and things of that nature. Let's talk about all those players and the little things besides the veterans that helped the Pacers beat the Hornets for their 7th win of the season that's coming up to close out today's Locked On Pacers. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you, but sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back by giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. That's why Betterhelp can be such a helpful place to start. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They match you with a therapist on Betterhelp that fits your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all the legwork on your own. And if the match is not the right fit, you can switch to another therapist from their tailored recommendations at any time. They've served over 4 million people with more than 30,000 therapists, and live sessions average a 4.9 out of 5 rating across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up today. Get 10% off at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day your second listen. I advise 2 shows, Locked On Heat or Locked On Bulls, because they were supposed to play each other and the court had too much moisture and they postponed the game. That's kind of wild. Remember that Pacers-Pelicans game with the roof leak a few years ago? Crazy stuff. The Pacers and Pelicans played that night. The Bulls and Heat did not. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. Or just go listen to any of the shows involved in the Trae Young trade, which I suspect will become official on Friday. Okay, lots of little notes from this game. Of course, the vets were great, but a ton of players deserve praise for doing the many things. For example, the huge rebounds from Ben Shepherd and the fourth quarter defense he played on the Melo ball for a few minutes that I already talked about. That was huge. This is all not going to be positive, but most of it is. Okay, let's start with Tony Bradley. This game was on his birthday. Happy birthday to Tony Bradley. He's back on a new 10-day contract that he earned by knowing their system and being a solid player at times. And I always say when I talk about Tony Bradley, his ceiling is not particularly high as a center, but his floor is also higher than some of the other Pacers centers. And this game was probably pretty close to a ceiling Tony Bradley game. 15 minutes, 7 points on 3 for 3 shooting. They played him more than Micah Potter, who looked like frail on the bench and had an elbow injury or something. He only played 8 minutes, and Micah Potter still made a 3 in those minutes, but they got whacked with him on the floor. So Tony Bradley plays way more than him and was great. He made a free throw on all of his shots, 3 boards for 7 points. They won his minutes by 7 in a 2-point win. Obviously, that was very crucial. He was very patient when he caught the ball in the lane and took his time for baskets. He got some huge rebounds in this game. He was the best center they had in the first half. When they re-signed him yesterday, I got a few comments on the YouTube version of the podcast. I was like, he stinks and all this stuff. I'm like, his ceiling isn't high, but he does not stink. He's a totally adequate third center. And this is the best version of him, obviously, but he's capable of that. He can get rebounds in a game where rebounding were at times a problem. That would be my big negative from this. I have 2, actually. Jay Huff, he did many good things in this game. He made his shots. He blocked shots around the basket. He got punked by Diabate a lot on the glass. That was very, very painful and game-changing. Late in this game, Diabate, 10 points. He had 8 free throws, a lot of that coming just straight up off of rebounds. He only finished with 2 offensive rebounds, but it was like he's getting his hands on it or drawing. I think twice Huff just pulled him to the floor for a foul because he wasn't going to get it. That was tough. But not like Huff was bad, but that was a really tough part of this. The other negative from this part, Jarris Walker, it wasn't bad in the game. Jarris Walker plays 12 minutes. He missed all of his shots. I don't really care about makes and misses. He's been warm recently, but 3 rebounds was good. The assist was good. His defense was good, but his turnover was horrible. About 2 seconds left in the first quarter. He's saving the ball from going out of bounds. Just spike it right in bounds, and it bounces up, and the quarter's over. Instead, he tries to save it to a teammate, throws it right to LaMelo Ball, who hits a 3 at the buzzer of the quarter. I get that was a bang-bang play, but that was rough. Okay, lots of good stuff did happen, including Aaron Nesmith in this game. His stats end up being 5 for 12 for 16 points. It's not like he was so amazing with this efficiency, but he really got them going out the gate in the second half. They were only up 1 or 2 at halftime. They needed to get some flow and pop back into the game because they kept losing moderately sized leads. He was just charging the rim in the third quarter. Their first 6 points were all him, and they were all from rim pressure. One of them came from some of it came from the foul line. He was just going at it, and it was awesome. Huge stuff from him that he's added even more dribble pop to his game. He's always going to be known for his shooting, and he's 3 for 7 from deep again in this game, but he keeps adding more and more power and speed to his drives to the basket. He'll never have the side-to-side wiggle, I don't think, but That's all very impressive. He also had 2 plays that were a huge bummer. One was that 3 I mentioned earlier that got wiped off. It should not have counted, to be clear, but it was such a sick shot that had it counted or had it been more important to their result, would have been a sick play. And then he had another one where I think it was a free throw. I can't remember. He did go out of bounds, but he was kind of running back in, and they were supposed to be inbounding under the basket, and they whistled him for the didn't go out of bounds play. And like, okay, maybe that wasn't all the way out of bounds when he threw it, but like watch every one of those in a game. Like they could call that 4 or 5, 6 times a game. And he actually did go fully out of bounds at one point. It was annoying. Even though it was technically the correct call. Ethan Thompson played for 8 minutes and had 3 free throws for his only stats and 1 turnover. And he made all 3 of the free throws. And that is a heck yeah, Ethan Thompson game. Perfect role player abilities, was not forcing his shots. He didn't touch the ball that much, honestly. Was not forcing shots and drew 2 charges, standing in there, playing tough D. That's what they needed from him in this game, and that's why they hung tough in his minutes and turned to him more than once in this game. LaMelo Ball was amazing. This is the biggest critique of the Pacers defense that largely did a pretty good job. Con Knippel never really got free. He only took 6 threes. Miles Bridges was a little thorn in their side, I suppose, but wasn't too bad. LaMelo made 12 shots. He had 33 points and 8 assists and 3 steals. They were plus 19 with him on the floor and minus 22 with Colin Sexton on the floor. LaMelo was a problem for the Pacers. They never quite figured him out. He's very shifty. He's very hard to guard when he's like absolutely balling. But until Shepherd was on him in the fourth quarter, that was the biggest issue for the Pacers defense is they could not quite, I mean, they were even guarding Brandon Miller pretty well, but they could not contain him at all. Shepherd getting the best reps late in the game. All right, it's 3 positive guys to talk about from this one. I already talked about TJ McConnell, but he got elbowed in the face in the first quarter. That was Brandon Miller's first of 2 techs, which his ejection was crucial. He came out of the game for just a little bit. And Cam Jones came in for him. Cam Jones, too short to guard LaMelo. I know we already know that, but that's just something to note and learn from this. They immediately shifted him over to guarding Josh Green instead, but 2 assists in 2 minutes and 16 seconds for Cam Jones. Any production he offers is good, but for all the good things he's done, like he had some annoying in a good way, defensive possessions against the Spurs last week, for example. That was the first time he's had to guard somebody that tall. Did not go well. Johnny Furphy, early in the game, hard drive to the basket to draw a free throw, hits a 3. He has developed to the perfect 5th option for this starting group. 3 shot attempts in 26 minutes after 5 in over 30 minutes in their last game. I mean, until that someone else returns who maybe needs the spot, he should keep starting. 6 boards. He's so good on the glass. Thorny defense, 7 points plus 5. He is the perfect 5th option role player right now. It's been an absolute delight to watch him develop this year. Last guy to get to, hadn't played for a while. They go straight from not playing to starter with Andrew Nembhard out. It's Quentin Jackson, 18 minutes for him. He only goes 2 over 7. His shot was not looking particularly awesome this game. He missed 2 threes, but 5 assists and a steal and a block, only 1 turnover on his way to 4 points. He was effective in this game because no matter what, if he caught the ball, his goal was very obvious. Dribble below the foul line. Get somewhere where a defender is going to react to me, Quentin Jackson. And it worked. He was super aggressive with some semi-transition plays early, and he is getting below that foul line. Sets up a Furby 3 doing exactly that. He got the ball to Jay Huff right under the basket doing exactly that. Some games, the headstrong drive all the time offense that I've said, like, look, this does create shots. It's not very point guardy, and some people quibble that I even make that distinction. There are clearly games where it matters, that distinction. This was not one of them. Tonight was one of those games where that offense of just him, go at the wall hard as you can offense was effective, and it was. This actually made the defense rotate and was helpful for them. So credit to him to continue to do that over and over. And he had an awesome block on the LaMelo Ball that I already mentioned earlier that really kind of shifted the tides of the game. The Hornets were, I think, going to go up 6 if he scored that. That was his only block. So credit to Q for making a lot of little things plays and not allowed 25 points in a win, but 4 points and 5 assists from your starting point guard in a win because he was getting places with the ball. And that's how the Pacers win for the 7th time of the year. Good for them. They come back home to start a win streak, perhaps. They play the Heat on Saturday. We'll be podcasting after that for our next one here. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on social media at Tony R. East and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Back Saturday night talking Pacers Heat. Till then, everybody have a wonderful day.